the story straight away. Here is the story we have reported from the Sonitpur district of Assam, where you can see children are passing the river on a big cooking vessel. This is how they reach their school every day. This is how they risk their life every single day to reach a school, which is a basic need for any kid. When we reported this story, it got picked up by some mainstream media, and the local authorities took note of it. A local elected representative promised that we will build a bridge. Now, this is the impact of one rural story coming out in mainstream media. Now, let me go to the next, the other spectrum of the media, which is about positive stories. Here is a guy who is sitting in front of you. It's a very interesting story. We reported from Gajuwala village from Fatehbad district in Haryana. This man has been going to railway station every single day. He buys ticket, but does not necessarily board the train not for traveling. But why? Then why is he going every day to buy this ticket? In 1996, when the railway authorities decided to shut down the railway station because it was not economically feasible for it, as it was not able to sell a minimum number of tickets. They in fact shut it down, but he didn't want to lose it. Why? Not just he loved the train and the station, but also it reduces 1 hour of journey to the nearest city. He went around pillar to post, convinced the authorities that please restart it. I will ensure that the minimum number of tickets is sold. That is the day when he decided, and since then, almost for next 20 years, he went every single day to buy the tickets just to ensure that the stations are not shut down. So now this is the kind of story. This is what tells about India. This is a story of grit, determination, resilience. The story of how people struggling. But why don't we hear them? Why don't we hear them often in national media? One of the biggest reasons is the revenue model. Many of us might not know most of the media companies are in losses, including ours. It's a difficult thing to run because the only source of income or the stable source of income used to be advertising, which has been cornered by big MNCs, giants like Google and Facebook. Now only I think around 20 to 30% of the ad revenue is left for the traditional media. There's hardly anything for them to survive on. The other challenge is that if you have to be independent, you cannot take money from the government or big corporates. Then who are we dependent on? We're dependent on people like you who can pay, but I can't put a paywall. Why? Because I cannot deny an information to poor because they also need to be known so that they can take an informed decision. If I put a paywall, then I'm denying a poor to read the story to take an informed decision. So that's also a difficult thing. It's a very complex problem. Unless you have some source of revenue, unless there is some stream of revenue, you cannot grow, you cannot invent, you cannot innovate, and you will not see any innovation in media sector precisely because of this. Now, the other impact of this is you might have seen that hundreds of reporters were laid off during COVID because you don't have money. The first thing media houses are doing is cut down the cost. How do they do it? Shut down the district bureaus. So one of the national media where I work had one person sitting in Guwahati covering the whole of Northeast. Imagine how can that reporter bring stories from Nagaland sitting in Guwahati or from Arunachal Pradesh or Kohima? It's impossible, right? So you shut down the district bureau, you lay off reporters and you hire cub reporters who are just out of college or inexperienced editors who cannot see things in perspective or understand the importance of some stories. And then there's no there's no training. A lot of us, when we join company, you get 6 months, 3 months training. But reporters are not given training because we don't have money. So day one, they are asked to go and report the stories. These are the cub reporters who are full of josh, who are enthusiastic, but they don't have any professional story. If you give them abstract figure, facts, they can't put them into a perspective. There's a difference between inference and interpretation. Many of us land up doing interpretation. So this kind of reporting training is needed, which is difficult, which is not given. Okay, that's another reason you see low quality of reporting. Then there's something called parachute journalism, which I have also done, and which many of us are still doing it. This is called being in Mumbai and Delhi. Something happens in some far-flung area of Bihar. We travel there, we be there for a couple of days, we pretend as if we know everything and come back and write. But there's a big problem, there's a big hole here. Why? Because when we go there, we go with a preset mind. I have a story idea that is approved by my boss. I have to look for facts that fit into that story idea. Because I can't come back empty handed because the company has already spent a lot of money on your travel. So I have to come back with some story, which is what I also did. I traveled extensively when I was in Mumbai, and I did a lot of stories where I didn't even actually know a lot of things. So this is called parachute journalism, which is all again bad for us as a society because the reporters who are traveling there, who are living there, hardly know, and it's very complex. The culture, socio-economic situation, the language, everything is different. Now, there's another aspect of the problem, which is somewhere, thanks to the technology, has been taken care of. Editors myth. When I work with the mainstream media, I realize that editors don't believe in stories from rural India. They think that these are not important stories, nobody cares, nobody listens to them, nobody bothers about it. But when the technology, the digital media, democratized creation and consumption of news, this myth was busted. The story is not read because of the author or the location. It is read purely based on the merit of the article. This was the reason they realized that okay, the story is important and not the author. Now they want a story. Now we are at a stage where we want a story because we realize that all the stories are important. India is diverse. But what do? We have broken the pipeline. We have killed the network, which was earlier because by shutting down the network. Now how do I get the stories? Even if somebody is pitching the story, we are not ready to take it. So this is the editor's problem with trust deficit. The editors want the story, they realize the importance of the story, but they can't take from anybody whose credentials are not tested. Why? If I'm pitching a story, nobody knows what is my agenda for doing this story. Nobody knows my affiliation with the parties or the companies. So how do an editor take a story from the local reporter whom they don't know? Because they have already broken the network and we don't know the credentials of the existing reporter. So this was the problem what I felt and I saw while working with the mainstream. Flashback to 2009, that's my hometown, Belgavi. This is a clip I took in during 2010 Panchayat election. That is where I started my career. I worked as a local journalist with cable TV channel in Belgavi. That was the time I worked closely with the local reporters too and understood the potential of these reporters. They are highly entrepreneurial. Imagine reporters, people who don't have any other thing, but they have learned video editing, video recording, other stuff. So, and they're sitting on a huge ton of information. They're sitting on amazing story ideas, but they don't have a platform because they're not connected with the national media. And their problem is this. First, editorial support. You need to be trained. You need to be told what is the story idea. You have to be told how to be objective. Keep aside your subjective opinion stuff. You have to be told how to put things in perspective, how to write an idea, how to pitch a story idea. They need close editorial guidance. That unless you do that, unless you give them, they won't be able to report. Secondly, money. This is equally important because many of these reporters are struggling to survive and their only source of income is stories. If you don't pay them on time, they will not be able to. Most of the mainstream media will not do. They are not paying on time. Even today, a lot of reporters don't get paid on time. You just go on Google and search on Twitter, you will see so many posts reporters complaining about not being paid on time. You have to pay on time so that they can work and pursue the next story. After that is respect. This is something I personally felt, and that's what I decided that regardless of where we go, what we do, we have to respect every single reporter, regardless of which media house they belong to. When I worked with a local publication, I had different people responding to me differently, different people understanding me, and when I work with the biggest national media, again I have different people looking at me differently. So this is something which I told the team that we have to work on it. We cannot disrespect anybody because everybody's job is important. They all are reporters. They might be here today, they might be there today, but regardless of that, we have to respect. recognition. Again, it's a very important part for journalists. The asset that they create in their career is nothing but the byline. The, the byline is the name just below the headline that they get. But today, many of the stories don't get the byline because they are working with an agency. So the stories will be seen only with the agency name and not the reporter. They need the incentive, they need the name to be there for them to feel incentivized, motivated for the next story. And now understanding the problem with the editor, living in big cities, Delhi, Mumbai, and having been and have gone through the process of this being a local reporter, we decided in 2015 to form 101 Reporters. I've seen both the side of the thing. I understand the problem. Now the thing was how do we address this? And this is what we have done. What we said, we're paying on time, respecting the reporters, helping them pitch the ideas, working closely with them to get the stories out through this platform. It's an 8-year platform, and thankfully, despite all ups and downs and COVID, so far we have reported 7,000 stories from different parts of the country. These are untold, unheard stories which otherwise might not have made to the national media. Many of these stories were picked up and published by this publication, and we could see some impact, but the team was happy that finally the mission that we are on, at least we are able to get. We started with 10 reporters, today we are 3,000, covering almost every district in the country. Most of them, and some of them have been trained and now they're directly reporting for the mainstream media. They don't need us. And that is the day when I say 101 day, because the day we become redundant, the day we don't, 101 reporters is not needed because the reporters are in an ecosystem where they're learning and directly contributing to the mainstream media. The day we shut down 101 reporters will be the day we say that our mission is done.